everyone, Pecan Cookie here. After almost 3 years, I have finally finished my AU series called Intertwining Fates. If you haven't seen the series yet, I suggest you watch it before continuing this video. It has definitely been a long process, but it gave me a chance to do one of my favorite things, storytelling. Spanning over 2 seasons with 18 total episodes and 1 music video, Intertwining Fates has been my passion project for a long time. So, let's talk about it. Season 1 was a mess. I'll admit that. Of course, the quality of it was way worse. Some of my characters' designs were just weird. I always had the characters too small in the scale of the screen, but that wasn't the part that was a mess. The writing was a mess. I'll be honest and say I had absolutely no idea where the story was going to go. I think going into it, all I knew is that Emmeline would kind of be the final boss. I knew I was going to kill off Travis from the beginning. Same thing with Aaron. I mean, come on. I couldn't not kill off Aaron. I mostly came up with everything on the fly. I'd write a script, make the video, then write the script for the next episode with no real plan. The only thing I really had thought out was Kim's backstory. But despite all that, I really enjoyed Season 1. There are a few things I would have changed, like the way Maria died. Looking back at that scene, it was so poorly made. If I made it now, she probably would have been killed by a human or something. Some of my favorite parts of the season were Kim's whole storyline, Travis's storyline, and all the stuff with Zane and Nana. And going into Season 1, I had no idea I would even make a Season 2, but in the end, I decided that the story wasn't over yet. Season 2 was way more thought out than the previous season. Before I had even released the teaser for the season, I'd written the scripts for episodes 1 through 6, and in a general outline for the last 2 episodes. Making the episodes for Season 2 took a lot longer, though. As my skills increased, it just took longer to make the videos. And the episodes just kept getting longer and longer and longer. I mean, the season finale was an hour long. I ended up splitting it into 2 parts. Season 2 also had fewer character deaths, I think. Well, fewer named character deaths, since of the whole city blowing up thing. And there was quite a few close calls with some characters. I really like how Season 2 came out, and it's definitely my favorite. I think the only thing I really should have changed was maybe giving Lawrence and Cadenza's family some more screen time. I also wish I'd mentioned the whole Blaze likes Garth thing earlier. It was actually written into the script for episode 1, but the scene got cut because I changed my mind at the last second. But Blaze's motivations for the final, with him going back to the palace, were heavily driven by his crush on Garth. But other than that, I loved the story and all the storylines I came up with. The original concept for Intertwining Fates was almost completely different. I could make a whole AU with the original idea, and it would be something completely different. I had a somewhat vague idea of how it would start, but no plans for the main plot line. So let's call this story Beta Intertwining Fates. Let's start where all my stories begin, in the depths of my brain. Let me set the scene. In the beta version, Garth and Lawrence's roles were somewhat swapped. Garth was a prince, his father being Garte, and Lawrence was part of a band of rebels. This group included Cadenza, Aphmau, Aaron, Melissa, Lucinda, and I think Zane. They were all criminals, but not because of being werewolves and stuff. They were just petty thieves, stealing to survive. The start of the story, Garth is out on the town when his carriage is robbed. He ignores his guard's warnings and follows after the thief. It turns out to be Lawrence, and Lawrence proceeds to flirt his way out of trouble, basically. Garth returns home and is told that he is to be married to Princess Kimberly, who is secretly being possessed. I told you I had the Kim storyline figured out from basically the beginning. Garth packs all his things and runs away, and later runs into Lawrence again. Now, that's about as far as I got when it came to the original idea. I never wrote any of this down, but I decided to completely pivot the story. One of the main reasons for this was because I thought Garth being a prince was too similar to Royal Tale. It just felt repetitive, so I switched up a lot of stuff. I also didn't have as many characters thought out in the beta version either. It's clear to see that Intertwining Fates has changed a lot since I first thought of the AU. Along with the beta version, there were plot points that I had planned to put into the official version that never really made it into the story. Writing is always trial and error. And let's just say there was a lot of trial and error. The list of things that were cut from Intertwining Fates is long, and some of the explanations are kind of dumb. Let's just list a few. Starting with Season 1. First plot point is Brady Kim. While I did say that Kim's storyline was mostly planned out, that doesn't mean I didn't change anything. In episode 5 of Season 1, we get a flashback scene of Kim's childhood and how she accidentally causes Imlan's death. It wasn't supposed to be an accident in the original script. Kim was going to turn her friend in, knowing exactly what would happen to her. So basically, little Kim was just a little bitch. I decided to change this because I wanted Kim to come off more innocent, so people would sympathize with her more. Yep, you read that right. In the final episode of Season 1, when Travis kisses Caitlin right before he dies, the dark magic corruption was supposed to spread onto Caitlin's face before Lucinda pulled her away. It was going to look something like this. And the reason for changing this was so stupid. So you know that badge that Caitlin has? So it's made with face accessories. I mean, I couldn't have the badge and the corrupted patch on her face, and for some reason I chose the badge. This was originally meant to happen during the massacre at the wedding, but I kind of fell in love with these two, and I just didn't have the guts to kill them off. So they lived, and we got their whole storyline in Season 2, so I think it worked out for the best. Now moving on to some of the scrap bits of Season 2. Phoebe was going to die. Yep, another scrap death. This was actually supposed to happen in episode 7. She and Jason were running from the guards and crawled out a window onto the roof, where Phoebe would then get shot with an arrow and fall to her death. Her body later to be found by Lawrence as she ran away. This death didn't happen because the scene was too hard to make. I couldn't find a background that would work, and I really didn't want to green screen it. So, in the end, my laziness kept a character alive. In the first drafts of the script, Zane was the one who was going to land the killing blow on Jean, but I decided to change it to Nana for the factor of surprise. I also think she deserves it, because he kind of almost killed her and is the reason she's missing a leg. My original plan for Malachi was to have him have a really interesting backstory. Basically, he is immortal because his parents cursed him. It all started when he fell deathly ill. His parents couldn't come to watch their young son die and turned to drastic measures. They used an ancient curse that would bring him back to life. This spell cost both of his parents magic, but they were willing to pay the price. What they didn't realize is that the spell caused Malachi to stop aging completely, stuck as a kid for all of eternity. His parents went crazy trying to fix it and eventually passed away, while Malachi stayed young. So Malachi looks 8, but he's really like 500 years old. I loved this plotline, but I just couldn't fit it into the story, especially with how late Malachi entered the series. There was just no room for another storyline like that, and it just wouldn't work. I'm still kind of sad about this one. The rest of the cuts were mostly just line changes and small stuff like that. These were just a few of the big ones that I could remember. Of course, my AU has some Easter eggs to other series made by AFMAU, most of them MCD and My Street. So let's start with the most obvious. Metellia. Of course, this is a direct Easter egg to the MCD city of Metelli, with just an A tacked on to the end of it. Aaron dying. I mean, if AFMAU can kill Aaron off like 3 times, then I can kill him off too. Travis's corruption. I made the corruption gray to mimic Travis's demon form from MCD. We also have emeralds. They pop up twice in Season 2, used to power Nana and Dottie's prosthetics and to enhance Lucinda's magic in the final. The Kingdom colors of Metellia, purple and gold, take inspiration from the Phoenix Drop High school colors. There's also a few little details that I'm not sure how many people picked up on, but I would like to point a few of them out. I only really have 2 of these, but Michi had told Kim that she had a friend that taught her some magic, and in the finale of Season 1, we can see Sasha get upset when Michi's death is mentioned. See the connection? Basically, Sasha was just that old friend who Michi was talking about. In Episode 1, Kim mentions her kingdom is in the midst of a famine, and later in the flashback scene, Emmeline's parents mention a famine that's spreading up in the north. This is the same famine. Since Emmeline's family was killed, their warning was discredited, and the famine just started spreading all across the kingdom. Now, let's dive into some of your questions. Do you have any other plans for this AU? Kind of, but at the same time, no. It's complicated. I know the main story is done and that it won't get a sequel, but that doesn't stop me from making a prequel. A lot of the characters have larger, more fleshed out backstories than I showed through the series because I just didn't have space to put them in. But I don't know if I would ever make these backstories canon. Right now, they're kind of just sitting in my head. And it's not like I'm sick of this AU, but it was really tedious to make and put me through a lot of stress. I mean, there was days I was working on it until midnight just to meet my goal for the day. The thing is, I love writing, and I like making videos, but my Intertwining Fates videos, they took so many screenshots and just so much time to make, it became boring. I always loved writing, and I liked the finished project, but it was the actual screenshotting process that I disliked. So if I ever flesh out the backstory ideas, it might only be in writing form. I could post on AO3 or something like that, but who knows. How did you find your plot/inspiration for Intertwining Fates? As I mentioned before, it took some trial and error to come up with the plot for Intertwining Fates. And obviously, it was inspired by MCD and My Street, but I also took a significant amount of inspiration from the Netflix's Dragon Prince. Just look at Harold's whole character. He's basically just Ezran, and Sasha's kind of Rayla in this context. If you've seen the Dragon Prince, then you know what I'm talking about. Who is your favorite character in Intertwining Fates? Travis and Cadenza. Unlike Aaron, it was really hard for me to kill off Travis. I just loved my little traumatized boy so much it was hard to let go of him. But the show must go on. Cadenza is also one of my favorites. I loved her character arc and how loyal she was to her kingdom, always willing to put her life on the line, and her little romance with Ivy was so cute. Wait, this is the perfect time to finally explain my strange ship of Ivy and Cadenza. Okay, so it gets a bit confusing, so just listen closely. In my head, I've made a very detailed idea of what My Street Season 7 would look like, and I wanted to give Cadenza a spotlight since I love her so much. She only has less than 10 minutes of screen time in My Street, which is a shame because she is best girl. Anyways, remember all the way back in Season 2 when Lucinda says this.
Haven't you heard? We are shipped now.
You're what? It's QnA's little joke. She thinks we're a cute couple because we've been hanging out a lot recently.
I have a little headcanon that Ivy and Lucinda kind of had a not serious summer relationship kind of thing, but Ivy got a little more attached to Lucinda than she would admit. Come my Season 7 scenarios, Ivy comes back into the storyline and gets kind of heartbroken when she finds out Lucinda's dating Melissa and never really saw her the same way. As she's trying to get over her heartbreak, she runs into Cadenza at a bar or something, and they hit it off, and things progress from there. Basically, my headcanon is Ivy has a thing for redheads. Okay, back to the questions. How long did it take to make? This is kind of a hard question to answer. I mean, I first started the series in 2021, and I did take a break in between seasons. I spent hours writing the script and taking the screenshots. Editing took a lot of time too. If I had to take a guess, over 100 hours working on the project as a whole. What is your favorite character design from Intertwining Fates? I think it would be Aphmau, Cadenza's season finale design, Blaze's season 2 design, and Betty's design. I really like the character designs for Intertwining Fates, but struggled sometimes due to the game's lack of medieval-styled assets. What season was your favorite? Season 2, without a doubt. It was just planned and written way better, along with my skills in Gacha Club improving. What character had the most development? I think maybe Caitlin. She went from someone who grew up super loyal and believed anything that Hayden had told her, but upon realizing the truth, she knew that she was on the wrong side and fought for what was right. Will you continue to make content with this AU? Maybe. I have a few ideas. Maybe doing an Intertwining Fates as Vines video, but we'll see. Other than that, I probably won't make any other videos with this AU. Will you make another series? And will it be an Aphmau AU? Yes, and maybe. I'm kind of in a weird place when it comes to YouTube right now. I do really, really want to continue to tell stories, but let me be honest, I feel like I'm kind of drifting away from my street content, but at the same time I have 3 or 4 other series ideas, my street related, that are just sitting in my brain right now, and I don't want them to go to waste. So I'm really not sure, but I will update you when I decide. Thanks for watching, and thank you all for the support you gave me during the creation of Intertwining Fates. I really enjoyed making this AU and loved the final product. I think I'm going to try and resume a somewhat normal upload schedule now that Intertwining Fates is over. I hope I can continue to share the weird stories my brain comes up with, no matter what they're about.